Hi, Jim Mitchell, and welcome to another edition of Spotlight on Bensenville, where we take some time to allow you to meet some of the people involved in the day-to-day operations here in Bensenville and get to know them a little bit. And today, got a very interesting conversation lined up as we're going to welcome Don Schultz, who is the coordinator of the Emergency Management Agency here in Bensenville. Don, how are you today?
Good.
Nice to have you here.
Yeah.
We hear about emergency management, obviously, at certain times when something's happening, but in the rest of our routine, it's kind of in the background. So tell us a little bit about EMA and what it does and what its purpose is.
Simply put, emergency management is preparedness. Trying to work with the village departments, public works, police, fire, finance, the administration, on ways to help prepare the village for a major emergency or disaster event, to make sure that we take the right steps to get through such an event in the best way possible. And that's probably the simplest way to look at it.
Now, and I don't mean to make light of it, I had a conversation with your public works director recently, and we were talking about things that they do, and I would imagine there are residents who, they get a pothole and that's an emergency to them. But when we come to EMA, what can you define what an emergency or a disaster situation really means?
It's those larger events. Police and fire, public works, they handle those car accidents, fires, water main breaks, kind of almost on a day-to-day basis. They do that, very well. That's what they do. It's when it gets a little bigger. There's more people involved. There's more residents that are affected. It's a larger area. It's a bigger event. A tornado is probably a good example of when it gets to a bigger. That's a major emergency and probably a disaster event for the village when you're talking something like a tornado.
Okay. So some of those things that have higher risk, greater risk to the population in some way.
Correct.
All right. Now, so you mentioned that EMA's role is to help prepare. How do we prepare for those types of things?
Well, again, that's another role of EMA, is to try to get out in front of the public at different community events or specially called training classes for the public to help get them information on what they can do for themselves to prepare for that large-scale emergency or disaster event. Something that would cause them to have to wait because it's such a large event, they may not see police and fire there right away. So there are things that they should know to help take care of themselves until the police, the fire, the paramedics can get there in those larger events.
Yeah, and in those events, I'm sure there's a lot of chaos at the moment, and the resources are spread thin, so it's important for people to be able to handle certain things on their own.
Yeah, you're on the village side of things. You're trying to assess, what just happened, how big is this thing, how many more other outside agencies do we need to bring in to help cope with this disaster event and bring this to hopefully a quick resolution.
And you've got highways, airport, railways going through town. Do you have to coordinate with different agencies as well in potential instances there?
Well, initially, we want to have those contact names and numbers, on hand. So depending on what the event is, we can make sure we get a hold of them, bring those people in to help us coordinate with the railroad, for example. What's on that? What do we have to be worried about? What was on that train that's now causing this problem, and get that information into the key decision makers to do the right thing and to again keep this from becoming a worse event than it needs to be.
Yeah, critical moments really. Now, you mentioned notification. Let's look at it from the other side. When something is occurring, or perhaps even something may be occurring, whether it's a weather event or something that you have some sense that there could be something happening that would be severe. How do residents become informed in either instance?
A lot of times we try to make sure we keep our websites up to date with current notifications, specifically like weather events. if it becomes something that's imminent, that it's coming, we will push out a message on our village-wide mass notification system, a system we call Code Red.
Okay.
That's the company name of the system that we use the service of to push out these notifications to the village, and it's all based on phone numbers and cell phone numbers, landlines, things like that. So.
And do residents opt into that, or does that just go to everybody?
There's a database that we started out with, but that doesn't necessarily cover everybody. So yes, we encourage the public to go to the village website, to the Code Red tab, and then make sure that their information is in the system so that they get the information as well.
And what about, I know there's a lot of new technology out there, the sirens that we used to hear, are those still in use?
Still use the outdoor warning sirens. Those are typically for the summertime severe weather events, tornadoes.
Right.
That's a big component. Trying to get people's attention that, hey, this is coming, take immediate action, basically is what the sirens, when you hear those, that means take immediate action. And you should be able to kind of tell because of the conditions outside,
right.
And that's just meant to kind of reinforce that we have a bad severe weather event headed our way.
Okay. And in terms of other forms of notification, tell me about AM 1620.
AM 1620 is a low power AM radio station, similar to what you see along the highway for motorist information. The same type of system. It kind of just encompasses the village of Bensenville, and so we use that as another way to get information out to the public. Again, that's really meant for these large disaster events, major emergencies, disaster events. Again, the day-to-day fires, and we're not going to have information on 1620 related to that. It's those bigger events when we want to tell people what to do, what not to do, areas to stay out of, protective action that they need to consider. And they can get that on 1620 as well as the website and places like that.
And aside from these major events for which you want preparedness, are you involved in just some more routine day-to-day things in terms of educating and keeping the community aware of different circumstances?
Yeah, I try to get out in front of the public at different events. The schools will call and see if I can come out and talk to a class on different topics, emergency topics, and that's a good idea. I think to get the younger students, get them thinking about that at a younger age. You're not trying to scare anybody, but at least get them to start thinking
Sure.
about those things at a younger age. So, that's one of the things that I do is to try to get out and get in front of different civic groups and talk to them about preparedness. It's very important, I believe.
And tell me about whether it's technology or hardware or just some of the tools that you might need to have at your disposal. Are there certain types of gear that are important to a EMA group?
Personal protective equipment, for rain events, even cold weather, making sure that when we have our people go out that they're protected with the cold weather gear, face shields, goggles, gloves. Some of those types of tools are important. We're asking them to go out and do these things. They need to provide the protective equipment.
Protecting the volunteers, the people, the staff, everyone.
Exactly, yes.
All right, we're going to talk about those folks in a little bit. Let's take a break first. We'll come back and continue our conversation on Emergency Management Agency here in Bensenville.
Don't wait. Communicate. Make your emergency plan today.
The Water's Edge Aquatic Center is conveniently located in the Redmond Recreational Complex in Bensenville. The Water's Edge is home of Fenton High School and Wahoo swim teams, featuring an indoor 8-lane lap pool and diving well. The Aquatic Center is available for private functions and parties. Learn to swim, stay in shape, or enjoy recreational swimming year-round at the Water's Edge Aquatic Center.
The Bensenville Community Library, serving a community of readers. Whether you're old or young, a lover of words, music, or computers, the library has something for you. Check out our new Kindles, toddler jams, story and movie nights, or a variety of other activities offered. For more information, call us at 630-766-4642 or check out our schedule on the web at benlib.org. The Bensenville Community Library, celebrating 50 years of library service. Staying connected is important, and at the Village of Bensenville, it has never been easier to keep up to date with what's happening in our community. On your phone, PDA, PC, laptop, or tablet, the Village of Bensenville website offers easy integration, so you'll stay connected at home, in the office, or on the road. To follow us on Facebook, simply go to the Bensenville homepage and click on the Facebook icon in the lower left-hand corner. This will take you to the Bensenville Facebook fan page. Once there, click the like button to add us to your newsfeed and receive regular updates from around town. To follow us on Twitter, simply go to the Bensenville homepage and click on the Twitter icon in the lower left-hand corner. This will take you to the Bensenville Twitter page. Once there, click the follow button to add us to your Twitter feed and receive regular community updates. To receive email and cell phone notifications, click on the Notify Me button. This will take you to the Notify Me dashboard. Once there, simply add your email address and/or cell phone number at the top of the page, and then select which service you would like to receive updates from. The most common update section is in the Newsflash Bensenville News. Click on the envelope icon for email alerts and on the phone icon for phone alerts. You can choose one, the other, or both. To watch our public access cable show or board meetings, simply click on the Bensenville Web TV button on the lower left sidebar menu of the homepage. This will take you to our streaming center, where you can play current and past Bensenville cable TV shows and board meetings. To pay your Bensenville utility bill online, just click the Online Payments button and then follow the instructions provided on our secure payment site. If you have any problem, concern, or question to tell the village, then click on the Bensenville Action Hotline button. This will take you to the Action Line dashboard, where you can explain your issue and receive a response within 48 hours once you have clicked the Submit button at the bottom of the page. Staying connected is important, and at the Village of Bensenville, it has never been easier to keep up to date with what's happening in our community. On your phone, PDA, PC, laptop, or tablet, the Village of Bensenville website offers easy integration, so you'll stay connected wherever you are.
Don Schultz, the EMA coordinator here in Bensenville, is my guest today on Spotlight at Bensenville. We're talking about emergency management and preparedness. And Don, it sounds to me like you rely on a number of different volunteers for various situations. Tell me a little bit about who gets involved and what the volunteer role is.
We have a number of people from the area. They're not all just from Bensenville, but many of them are. That all different types of work, and come in and volunteer their time to help the department do these things more out in the field to help support police and fire and public works department as much as we can with different types of emergency events that happen here in town. And there are some planned events that we also get involved with, parades and music in the park, where we help out with the traffic control around the music in the park festivity. So there's a lot of different things that the volunteers are involved with when they're a part of Bensenville EMA.
And we've covered some very interesting things already in terms of the scope of work. So if someone is watching and they go, yeah, this sounds like something I'd like to be involved with, how do they become a volunteer?
Probably the best way is to get a hold of me at my office. The information is on the village website, the phone number, email address. Contact me, and I like to set up a day and a time where I can meet with the person and just talk to them about what it is EMA is all about, what it is we do, kind of some of the things that I'm expecting, the commitment, what are their expectations, from such activity, and we go from there. And then there's training and so forth afterwards that they go through.
And we'll talk about the training in a minute, but if someone is interested, are there any specific qualifications in terms of age or background or skill sets? Or?
Well, we like to make sure that they're 18 or older. Any younger than that, then we try to make sure that, there's certain activities they can get involved with. That's more inside, the radio communications sector of the department and things like that. But 18 or older, willingness to get involved, go through the training and take direction out on the street, things like that. It's important. It can be dangerous work, but I take every step I can, every precaution that I can to make sure that they're trained and educated to do the things that I'm asking them to do when we're out in the field.
And tell me about Cert, which I think is part of that training and education.
Cert is a program it's been around, for quite some time. Citizens Emergency Response. Some people call it training, some people call it team, but it's another method of training to educate the public with the emergency response and preparedness. And so then we take that knowledge and that experience and we build upon that to again do some of the things that we're involved with to support the departments in town.
And are those courses offered on a regular basis? Do you do them periodically as need arises?
Periodically, I would like to see them kind of on a more regular basis, at least once a year. Sometimes the problems I run into is getting the instructors to handle the different sections of the training when it comes to the medical side of things. I want to make sure that we have a qualified paramedic that can step in and teach that that portion of the class. So it's good quality, people that are instructing the students that take part in the class.
Is there a string of courses people can take, or is it simply that cert up front and that's it?
There's we start out with the NIMS courses, what a lot of people have come known as NIMS, National Incident Management System, and there's 4 basic courses that everybody that's involved with emergency response and preparedness needs to go through, and it gives them a basic understanding of how things are kind of supposed to go. The organization, there is, you wouldn't believe it, but there is an organization structure to emergency response.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Terminology, so everybody out in the field, when something is talked about or said, that they understand what's meant. So even the volunteers, go through those 4 basic NIMS courses, and then all village personnel, employees, department heads, supervisors go through these NIMS courses as well, just so everybody is hopefully on the same page within a good understanding of emergency response.
And in terms of the volunteers, obviously they get some training, they get an opportunity to serve the community. It sounds like it's kind of a beneficial thing for them as well.
It can be. The things that you learn to help EMA respond and support the village, the departments of the village, you take that with you. You take that to where you work, take that home if there's something that happens at work or at home. You know how to respond to it, and in a I guess good way.
Right.
Kind of lose it or panic. Especially if it's a loved one or a coworker. You want to respond in a positive manner and do the right thing. And this helps. Mm-hmm. It really does.
And do you bring the volunteers together on a regular basis for meetings and just to stay in touch?
We meet at our at the police department EMA building Wednesday evenings. We get together and we do either classroom type activity, review, first aid, CPR, some of the NIMS information that we go over, or we're actually pulling out a piece of equipment and just use it. Start this thing up, make it. Do you know how to make this piece of equipment operate? A chainsaw, a pump, a generator, any of the pieces of equipment that we have on the vehicles and that we might use out in the field. So we'll test on that and train on that.
All right. Well, I know from the conversation we've had today, I guarantee there's going to be people at home who are saying, I'd like to do this. So give me one more time some information about how they can contact you to get involved.
They can contact me at the office. The office number is 630-350-3461, or through my email address, which is dschultz@bensenville.il.us, and just send me a little note or drop me a message on the phone. Say my name is, and I'm interested in emergency management, and I get a hold of them, and we go from there. Set up a day and a time and get things started.
Excellent. Well, great conversation with Don Schultz, the EMA coordinator here in Bensenville, on this edition of Spotlight at Bensenville. Thank you all for watching, and thanks to Don for being here, and look forward to talking to you on a future episode.